time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Great to have you with us on this Friday edition of the show. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. We'll be joined by our friend Tino Patino, because if it's Friday, it's a NASCAR Friday. NASCAR in Phoenix, Kansas this weekend. I don't know why I said Phoenix. They're in Kansas this weekend. So we'll preview that race with Tino Patino, get his betting favorites for this weekend's race. We'll also be joined by our friend Robert Littal, as he joins us every Friday on the show. So we'll get some thoughts with him on the top stories of the week, which may have a little to do with what we're talking about here in our opening segment as well. Sam Yarnell is here as always. And Sam, not a surprise that the Timberwolves responded with a Game 2 victory on Thursday night in Minneapolis over the Golden State Warriors, winning in convincing fashion. It got a little close in the second half. I think it got it down to 7. But the Timberwolves win going away, despite the fact that you had a little bit of an injury scare for Anthony Edwards, where he tweaked his ankle in this game, but was able to come back in the second half. And it wasn't a particularly glamorous performance by the Golden State Warriors in this game, but they do enough. And look, they just have to be competent offensively in this series, and they're going to be able to look, if they can just get to a 3-1 series lead, because there is some conjecture out there as to whether or not Stephen Curry will be back for Game 5. Will he make it back for Game 6? There's a chance this thing's over before Stephen Curry even makes it back if the Timberwolves win 4 straight, because I question right now whether there will be another game prior to Stephen Curry coming back where the Warriors can actually score 100 points in this series. I don't think they can. I don't think this team, as currently comprised, without Stephen Curry, is capable of scoring 100 points. In fact, if there was a bet in Vegas, Warriors to score 100 points without Stephen Curry in uniform, I would take the no, because I don't think they're capable of scoring 100 points without Stephen Curry on the court, Sam.
So I agree with you generally, but I disagree with you on just the last part, because I'm going to take any team that has Jimmy Butler in the playoffs on it.
He's not playing like but hang on. He's not playing like playoff Jimmy right now. He's not taking enough shots. He took 5 shots in the first half last night, Sam.
Last night he didn't. But in this playoffs, he has, Jason. In these playoffs, he has looked like playoff Jimmy, especially in the first round for that Golden State team against Houston. So
he needs to be Batman. He's playing too much like Robin right now. He needs to be Batman.
I don't disagree with you in that regard, but I do think that they're still capable of scoring 100 points, especially against a Timberwolves team that has been playing good defense. And let's not discredit that, because that has been, to me, one of the standout factors in this series, is how Ant and Rudy together have stepped up, as we've seen them do in the playoffs before, quite frankly, and just played another level of defense. It's what always impresses me with basketball this time of year.
Okay. Move away from all of that, because the story of the night wound up being, of course, yes, go ahead, real quick.
I just real quick, got to get this out.
Yep.
The Warriors need to have a long, hard thought about if they really want to rush Steph Curry back from this injury, which it sounds like they might want to try to do, and mortgage the rest of the time they have with him, right? He's not at the beginning of his career anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth it, right? To rush him back to potentially have severe damage done down the road in a road that might not be very long lasting.
By the way, they played 14 guys in the first half last night searching for answers. Draymond Green picked up his 5th technical foul of the postseason last night on this play. Whack, Naz Reid in the head. He could have easily gotten another technical foul after that. In terms of his response to the official, he did not get one there. After the game, Draymond not talking to the media, but instead just making one simple statement to the media. We'll let you see it for yourself.
I look like the angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
All right, Sam. Draymond Green says he's not the angry black man. Here's my response to this. And look, take this for what it is and who it's coming from. I've been telling people for years, the Warriors have enabled this behavior. The Warriors have allowed this to go on. The Warriors have basically said, Draymond, you just be you. To the detriment of this organization, to the point where it probably cost them another NBA championship. And then you have Draymond go on and say, I'm not the angry black man. By the way, I don't know if he's the angry black man. I don't necessarily buy into the narrative of the whole angry black man thing. What I think is he has self-control issues. I don't think it has anything to do with the narrative of the angry black man. I think it has issues to do with self-control. I've watched Draymond Green off the basketball court do interviews, host podcasts, be a guy on TNT on the crew, and be one of the guys, and be very eloquent, and be very well spoken, and be very smart, and be very gentle, and be very well spoken, and all of those things. But I've also seen a Draymond Green that when he gets on the basketball court, that can be unbridled, unshackled, and out of control. And sometimes you just can't put those two things together. And that just happens sometimes. I've seen interviews with Mike Tyson where Mike Tyson can be very in control, can be very calm, can be very demure, and then you watch him bite Evander Holyfield's ear off. There are just certain things that don't make sense. Draymond Green is this odd paradox. He has been this way forever and will likely be this way forever. We only got about a minute here, Sam, but what did you think of Draymond Green's comments?
Well, listen, I thought that obviously his comments speak for themselves. I don't really have anything to say about those, but the Draymond Green is, to your point, a very smart guy, right? 4 years at Michigan State, which is a really good college, notoriously very basketball smart. Like, no one's calling him dumb or any of this, that he seems to think the narrative has been drummed up. The fact of the matter is, through these playoffs, he's averaging 9.3 points per game and 3.3 fouls per game. It's a conversation about value, and there are some games where he's super valuable. Yeah. Other games where he's not. He might be smarter than me. He probably is smarter than me.
Well, I can't speak to that. But it certainly opened a lot of eyes when he said what he said last night. Took a lot of attention off the team, too. We're coming back. Coming up in 10 minutes, our friend Robert Littal drops by from Black Sports Online. Talk to him about some of the top stories from the week that was. All right, Sam Yarnell. Let's talk hockey. Let's talk pucks. As this unpredictable NHL postseason continues. Who was I watching talk about it last night? Is it Kevin Weeks on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt? Could that have been who it was? Might have been. He was just talking about the nature of the parity in the NHL and that it's leading to what we're seeing in this postseason, which is just the unpredictable nature of it all. I mean, you can throw a dart at a dartboard twice and, all right, there's your Stanley Cup, or there's who could wind up winning, or throw it once and figure out who's going to win. That's kind of where we're at right now. A couple of games last night that I want to talk about. Oilers Golden Knights. We had Dennis Bernstein on the show, and I'm not trying to call out Dennis or anything. Dennis, covers hockey for a living and is one of the best that I've talked to for the last, 10 years about hockey. And he loved the Golden Knights in this series. I loved the Golden Knights in this series. I think a lot of people like the Golden Knights in this series. And Edmonton's gone into Las Vegas, which is one of the toughest places to win. And they've beaten the Golden Knights 2 games in a row now. Last night, this back and forth affair, the Golden Knights were up 1-0 till like midway through the second. Then you had, Edmonton come back. They take a 3-1 lead. Golden Knights come back. It's 4-3 late. Golden Knights get a goal, make it 4-4. They go to overtime, and what do you know? Connor McDavid and Draisaitl team up, and Edmonton goes back to Canada with a 2-0 series lead in this best-of-7 Western Conference semifinal series, Sam. And again, we're just kind of left scratching our heads trying to figure out. And look, if there is a team I could see making a comeback down 2-0 in these Stanley Cup playoffs, it is Las Vegas, but they are in a world of trouble right now, Sam.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. Evander Kane scored that goal. So, all right, first of all,
yes,
the NHL's got to stop doing this thing where they list a game with like a 9:50 Eastern or 10 o'clock Eastern start time, and then like 15 minutes before at 9:45 or 9:50, the little bug comes on the bottom right corner across the ticker on ESPN or TNT and says, game now scheduled for 10:20 p.m. Eastern. Game now scheduled for 10:30 p.m. Eastern. They got to stop doing this, because what happens is what happened to me last night. Evander Kane scores 2 minutes into the third period, makes it 4-2. I'm like, all right, Edmonton's putting this one to bed. They're doing that thing. The ice is tilting in their favor again. I'm going to go ahead and, turn this one off and, get a good night's sleep here on the East Coast. I wake up this morning at 0:30 to my phone going off. Bzz, bzz, bzz. Hey, turns out Edmonton blew that lead and then came back in overtime, and McDavid and Draisaitl teamed up and scored a winner. So I blame the NHL for changing the time of the puck drop, because they did it again last night, and it really messed me up in terms of being able to cover this game for this show. Anyway, I went back and watched the highlights, and I'll tell you, to Vegas's point, like, they are up against it. I don't disagree with you, especially playing with fire in a powerhouse like Edmonton, that when you let McDavid and Draisaitl get hot like it seems like they may have done last night, by the way, look at all the scoring they have around them. That team may be a fireball coming at you. But this Vegas power play has turned into something so effective. And I'll tell you, Victor Olofsson coming in to Las Vegas with Jack Eichel on that power play line has been really good for the Golden Knights. And it was again last night, a huge part of that comeback that obviously didn't come all the way to fruition, Jason. But if the Golden Knights can ride on one thing, it is that power play. And that could be the difference maker in this series if they make a comeback here, obviously down 2-0.
And Game 3 becomes obviously a must-win for them this weekend. More on that later in the show. Hurricanes and Capitals, Sam Yarnell. And look, I mean, you had to feel good if you were a Capitals fan coming off the Game 1 loss. And look, you said this on the show the other day. They were terrible in Game 1 of this series. They could not play worse, and they lost 2-1. So the fact that they came out in Game 2 and played the way they did, and Tom Wilson obviously leading the way in a big way for this Capitals team, and able to get that Game 2 win.
Yeah, so a moment on Tom Wilson, because, I mean, the guy played out of his mind last night, out of his noggin, out of his bucket. I had a tweet, and I just feel like I need to say this on the show, because there's a large contingent of hockey fans that think they're hockey fans, just people that think they're hockey fans, who think Tom Wilson is bad for hockey. Well, I got news for you. If you think that Tom Wilson is bad for hockey, then you, in fact, are bad for hockey. I can say this as a non-Capitals fan and as someone who enjoys Tom Wilson perennially. He is just, that guy is a boxing match in a bag, and there is nothing better when you put it on skates and put it on 200 feet of ice, man. It is awesome to watch, especially when we get to this time of year. I mean, even after the final horn blew and the game was over, we still had rowdiness going on, and Tom Wilson at the center of it all, but also, weirdly enough, playing peacemaker at the beginning of it. Just wild scenes, and Again, this Caps team to me feels like the team of destiny in this playoffs. Why? Because they won that game last night against a team who nobody thought they could even contend with in a series. Look at the Vegas number even going into that series. And we didn't even mention Alex Ovechkin, the greatest goal scorer of all time. Essentially a nothing night for him. And Jason, the Capitals knew how to work around him and all the pieces fit. And by the way, Logan Thompson stood on his head again against a Carolina team that's going to continue to fire the puck on net and let him get hotter and hotter. I'm going to ride with the hot hand. The Caps are a team of destiny, man. And it felt like it last night in DC.
Tom Wilson, by the way, a team high 19 and a half minutes when it came to the forwards on the ice last night. 23 shifts, 19 minutes, 34 seconds.
Grinder.
Yeah. Dude was playing. Dude was playing. All right, we got a lot more to do on the show. Sam will return for odds and ends. We've got Robert Littal from Black Sports Online coming to hang out with us. Get some thoughts with him on some of the top stories of the week. I want to see what he thinks on the Draymond Green story as well. Lots more to do. Don't go anywhere. And this Friday edition of SportsWrap continues, and good to have you all with us. And if it's a Friday on SportsWrap, that can only mean one thing. Robert Littal, Black Sports Online, their founder, hangs out with us on the program. One of my favorite days of the week, because we get to talk to him about a whole host of stories. And I wanted to ask you about this Draymond Green thing. We talked about it at the top of the show because the Warriors lose, and that was expected. They're going to struggle without Stephen Curry. I think they're going to struggle to. I said this to Sam, and he kind of disagreed. I don't even know if they're going to be able to score 100 points in any of these games without Curry. Because you've got Jimmy Butler playing like Robin still when he needs to play like Batman right now. And I mean, you had Steve Kerr play 14 guys last night in the first half, and it wasn't a blowout. He was just trying anything to figure out where he was going to find offense. 14 guys in a playoff game. You don't see that. So they're going to struggle right now without Curry. Hopefully they can get him back by Game 5, and hopefully there's still a series for him to come back to. But the more interesting thing was what took place after the game. Or even what took place during the game with Draymond Green. And for people who didn't see it, Draymond Green was in some trouble for this play where he whacked Naz Reid in the head. After a foul was called on Naz Reid, Green flailed his arms and he hit Naz Reid in the head. He was called for a technical foul. Well, then, after the technical foul was called, he went off on the officials. He could have very easily been teed up again and thrown out of the game, and he wasn't. It was his 5th technical foul of the postseason. If he gets 7, he gets suspended for a game. Now, the Warriors might be eliminated before he picks up a 7th technical foul. But after the game, Green didn't talk to the media. Instead, he just simply made this statement that Anthony Slater, who covers the team, captured. I want people to hear it. You can hear it for yourself.
I look like the angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
All right, Robert Littal. We've all watched Draymond Green over his career. I don't, I'm not buying into the whole thing of, I don't care one way or another, the whole angry black man thing. I've never thought of him as the angry black man. I just think he's a guy that has self-control issues when he's on the basketball court. I've watched him off the court, and I think he could be very eloquent. I think he could be very smart. I think he could be very engaging. But something happens to him when he's on the basketball court where he loses control.
If you ever heard this expression, if you got to say it, it's probably true. I'm not angry. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. Normally you are. So something is triggering in him. I mean, this is an individual that said that he had to go to therapy and that therapy, worked for him, because he had certain issues. You don't just, punch teammates, in the face, for no reason. I think what he's trying to get across is that there are this perception of angry black men, angry black females. There are these stereotypes out there, but I don't actually see anybody putting that on Draymond from a racial standpoint. I just think they put it on Draymond from a Draymond standpoint. Now, I've talked to Draymond before, or attempted to talk to Draymond before. I remember I watched the game earlier this year. He was amazing on the court. And I told him, I said, hey, man, you still do and say some crazy things, but I think you should be Defensive Player of the Year. You're really that good. And I've also expressed to him that it's this other stuff that potentially is what's messing, you up. And, he has an accountability issues. It's never his fault.
Well, but part of that is because the Warriors have enabled him his entire career. The Warriors have allowed this to happen. I mean, I have always said so much of what's happened here has to be laid at the feet of Steve Kerr, Bob Myers, and this organization, Joe Lacob, even up at the very top of the organization, because they've allowed him to act this way. It's the kid in the schoolyard, and it's your kid who's throwing rocks at somebody, and you're like, it's all right. He's throwing a couple of rocks.
He's a bully.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, he's a bully, on the court. I mean, we physically, seen it. It's not like we're making these things up. There's video. It's in 4K. I always say this about Draymond. The Warriors would not have 4 championships without Draymond. The Warriors have had 8 championships. Lost 4 championships because of Draymond. You know what I mean? Like it's a really a catch, 22, with him. And we've seen, like I said, this has been going on, almost from day one, since he's been in the league. And I think he maybe is creating these things in his head to make him a better basketball player. I actually believe that. I think he has to be this way to be the best basketball player that he can be. It's kind of twisted and demented a little bit, but I think he has to create these certain things as if we're not seeing them. And that's the reason if he wasn't putting people in chokeholds or whacking people or elbowing people, nobody would be saying any of this thing. And for the record, I want to say, no one, and trust me, I watch this stuff all the time. No one has said Draymond is not intelligent. Nobody's ever said he was dumb or that he was a dumb. Nobody that. I'm very sensitive because there is a lot of racism and racial things in sports that just try to get washed and pushed away. I don't really see that. I just think it's just Draymond, being Draymond.
By the way, he was huge in that Game 7 victory for them against the Rockets. I mean, he was huge in that Game 7 win for them. So and there's been countless times in this postseason where he's made big plays for them. By the way, the reason he may not want to talk to you is Ohio State, Michigan State. An Ohio State guy trying to reach out to a Michigan State guy. You may not have a lot of luck with that.
One day why he got upset with me that led us to a little, back and forth, and me I just randomly hit him up just to let him know that I'm still thinking.
Is he a Hall of Famer? Is he a Hall of Famer to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I don't think he is. I don't think he is.
I think he's the best. I think he's the best defensive player, in the NBA. If I needed one person to get a stop, in the fourth quarter, there's no one that I would trust more than Draymond. It's can I trust him to be there in the fourth quarter? Is maybe the next game is really the issue.
Robert Littal is the founder of Black Sports Online, hanging out with us on the show. Don't worry, we got another segment with him. He's not going anywhere. We've bolted him to the chair. We're going to get some thoughts with him on the Bill Belichick, Jordan Hudson situation. If you haven't heard, Pablo Torre, formerly of ESPN, has some interesting reporting on what's happening in that situation. We'll get to it next. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back. Coming up in 10 minutes, Tino Patino previews NASCAR in Kansas at Kansas Speedway. Who are the favorites? Where should you be putting your money? Get into that coming up. But another segment with Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, hangs out with us every week on the show. All right, Robert. I said this was going to be a problem. I told everybody that when you start putting out statements about, defending your girlfriend, not even your wife, your girlfriend, on University of North Carolina letterhead and your Bill Belichick, talking about, these false narratives being put out about Jordan Hudson. This is going to be a problem, and it's proving to be a problem. Pablo Torre, formerly of ESPN, is reporting that sources are out there saying that Jordan Hudson is being banned from football facilities at the University of North Carolina. At this point, you got to start to wonder, is Bill Belichick going to make it through one season at North Carolina, or is this going to really become a problem?
He has to drop her. I mean, it's as simple as that. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what she did, curled his toes or whatever it may be, that yoga that they're doing, but he has to drop her. I mean, it's being detrimental to his legacy and his potential, employment. And he's 73 years old. I mean, he's not going to get that many more chances to coach. When I saw her on the practice field, maybe a couple of weeks ago, not just standing there and observing, but basically in uniform with a whistle out there instructing people, what to do and where to stand, I can understand why that would be a distraction. And then really the story that when it went from, okay, this is maybe a little weird and creepy, to like, somebody needs to check on Bill, is when I read the story about, the trademarks, the real estate investments. Now we're talking about, money being, moved around. We're talking about her having legal access to his name and some of his things, stuff that you want to pass down to your family. I thought maybe there needed to be an intervention at that time.
And now they're talking about the family being concerned about the damage to his reputation, the damage to his legacy. Does there need to be an intervention here? Like, I mean, how do you handle something like that? If he's truly happy, and it makes me wonder, Bubba Cunningham is the athletic director at North Carolina. And I heard the Pablo Torre sort of reference this, and it crossed my mind as well. Is Bill pulling the strings here? Did Bill go to the folks at the University of North Carolina and say, look, give me some cover here? No, seriously, run some cover for me.
I wondered this too. He didn't get an NFL job, and this is a guy that had, 6 rings as a head coach, 2 rings as an assistant coach, considered the greatest coach of all time, and he got beat out for the Falcons job by Raheem Moore. It's like, did they know something? The NFL are better investigators than the FBI. Better than the CIA. I tell you, Jerry Jones has solved more crimes that you've never heard of than than J. Edgar Hoover. That's a fact. I can guarantee you that. So did they look into what was going on and said, hey man, there's something weird here. Yeah. We're just going to stay away from Bill, and that's why he had to go to North Carolina in the first place. Yeah,
did Jerry Jones solve the one about what he was doing on those steps when they were trying to let those kids into the school? Did he solve that one? Just saying.
If somebody did a deep dive into Jerry Jones's life, that Netflix documentary would be like a Zack Snyder movie.
All right, I need to get your opinions on Manny Pacquiao, because I saw this story yesterday and I did a what? Manny Pacquiao is coming out of retirement at the age of 46 for, I guess, a fight in Las Vegas, as it would be, for a title shot, WBC championship fight against Mario Barrios. What on earth is behind this?
Money. It's broke. I remember somebody told me a long time ago, and I didn't believe it at first, but then I saw the signs. They said, Manny Pacquiao, back when Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather were 1 and 2 in the pound for pound, and it was money, Mayweather, and somebody told me, they say, hey, man, Pacquiao spends more money than Mayweather, and I didn't believe it. But it's not it's not the cars, and he gives money away he gives money to poor people. He's building stuff, bad investments. He's lost a lot. They don't pay his taxes. They took a lot of money. The Philippines took a lot of money. He ran for president. He lost. So, he lost a lot of money on his campaign. I think this is strictly a money grab, and the fact that fighters never really retire. As long as they think they have a shot, they're going to go in. But I think even Mario Barrios could handle a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao who looked very bad.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Well, that's what I was going to ask you. How did he look the last time we saw him in the ring?
He looked very bad against Udenis Ugas. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a while, and he didn't look good in that particular fight. I don't think 4 years of inactivity and sitting at home eating cheesecake. It made him. I mean, he has kids that are grown. He has kids in their 20s. Now, so it's like it just. They probably offered him a lot of money, and he's still a big. I think he's probably still a big draw. I guess we'll find out.
I think he would be. I don't think they'd have any problem selling out a Pacquiao fight, and I think he's going to be the co-main event on this fight with Sebastian Fundora and Tim Tszyu.
No, they make Pacquiao the main event on that.
Yeah, but I mean it's a co-main event, so I mean I think they'll be able to do all right with that.
Well, like I said, I hope that's not. I hope he's not broke. I mean, I just hope that maybe he needs a little something to stuff the retirement, fund. But
the question is, will Robert Littal be at that fight?
And probably not.
No, come on, you're not going to come for Pacquiao? I'll be very disappointed.
I don't want to see if I want to see an old man get beat up, I just go into downtown LA. There's fights going on down there.
On that note, we say goodbye. Robert Littal, always appreciate you, my friend.
All right, have a good one.
All right, time for segment 5 on this Friday edition of Sports Wrap. And if it's a Friday and it's segment 5, you know what that means. We're waving the checkered flag for Tino Patino. I got to get a checkered flag in there. That's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what we got to do. Our NASCAR betting insider joins us every Friday on the show. Catch him on Tubi. You can check him on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio with his betting insider picks on the weekends as well. And he hangs out with us here on Fridays. All right, Tino Patino. Real quick before we get to this weekend's race in Kansas. Your thoughts on Joey Logano getting his first win of the season, especially coming off the DQ the week before. And there is some irony to the fact that, he gets the win, and the fashion in which he gets the win after criticizing his teammate Austin Cindric for the way he won one of the stages the week before. There is some irony in all of this, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. It's the perfect Joey Logano type of victory. He's the guy that when you least expect it, he will win, he will be there, and he will take a picture with a Braves hat on in victory lane at Chipper Jones and have some fun with it as well. And I really shouldn't have been surprised when Joey Logano ended up winning that one. He didn't have the fastest car, but after a few, cautions towards the end, some NASCAR overtime, he does get it done. And it always seems to be after a little controversy, right after what happened at Talladega, which wasn't really a big thing, but it got a little blown out of proportion maybe. A lot of people were talking about it on social media. Joey Logano hasn't won a race this season. There he goes. He delivers in Texas. And it was an interesting race as well. A giant bump in turns 3 and 4. Hard racetrack to drive. Texas sort of beat most of those drivers there. And I would say with Joey Logano sort of being one of the best at staying patient and methodically going down the field and picking drivers off, passing people, that's why he got it done.
It was kind of bizarre. Felt like a lot of the drivers beat themselves too, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. It really had to be a perfect race and if they wanted to win, because some of the leaders were crashing out from leading. It was interesting to see from that standpoint. Josh Berry led a lot of laps, spun out. Kyle Busch was able to get back there towards the front. We talked about him. He had a faster car than we've seen in the past, at least so far this season. He spins out on his own, and we're talking about one of the greatest of all time. So that was pretty interesting to see how the track managed to race against the drivers, if we'll put it like that. But this weekend at Kansas, I think we'll see a different standpoint in terms of how the drivers are able to race.
All right, let's talk about Kansas this weekend. The Advent Health 400. Kyle Larson is your favorite at plus 400, so 4-1 for him. Ryan Blaney coming in at plus 650, then Denny Hamlin at plus 800, and Tyler Reddick at plus 800 along with William Byron. Who you liking this weekend? Who should we be on the lookout for?
Well, this is a Kyle Larson type of racetrack. I would not be surprised if he went out and dominated this one, 4 top 5s in the last 6 Kansas races. But more than Kyle Larson, maybe Denny Hamlin. Plus A50 for him. He's the king of Kansas. 4 wins here, the most out of all drivers. But at the same time, this is Kansas. This is something we need to be excited about. This is must-see TV for NASCAR racing action, and I'm getting excited just talking about it because every time we've come here in this next-gen car, there's been a great race that has been produced because of it. Last year, we saw the closest finish in NASCAR history between Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher. And hey, I like Chris Buescher to go out and sort of get some revenge in this one. He's 25-1 to do so. But think about it like this. Last week at Texas, he had one of the fastest cars there, but he ultimately didn't have a good result because he had a tire issue. Tire went down, wasn't able to sort of get back from that, but he was racing inside the top 5 when that had happened. So Chris Buescher's on my mind. Same thing with Ryan Blaney. We saw him be in position to win at Texas before he got passed by Joey Logano. Similar style racetracks. Obviously, Texas is more aggressive in terms of, the bumps in turns 3 and 4 and that type of wear on the tires and the drivers. Kansas, you open up more lanes, more opportunities to pass, and I think we can see Blaney and Buescher sort of excel from that standpoint.
Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, the 2 leading drivers in the playoff standings that do not have a win this season. Any reason to believe that could change?
Well, you would think Tyler Reddick, along with his teammate and Bubba Wallace, would excel at this track as they both have wins here, but they just haven't brought the speed as of late to Kansas. So that would be my first thing. I would totally be aware of Tyler Reddick heading into this weekend, but he had 2 20th place finishes at this racetrack last year. To me, if anything, I got to see it in practice and qualifying before I would place a bet on them or even consider them to win this race because of the Kyle Larsons, the Blaneys, the Buschers, the Bells and Hamlins we have out there that we know are going to bring raw speed to that racetrack. Chase Elliott, I would lean, if we were saying Chase Elliott or Reddick, I would go Elliott in this direction. He is Mr. Consistency, has 3 top 10s in the last 3 races at this track. I do expect him to have a strong run, but they've had trouble putting together complete races on pit road, maybe driver issues. If they can do so, I think he'll be in contention. I like a top 5 for him at least.
How about Bubba Wallace? You mentioned him and you said, just not enough speed. Does that mean you think he's actually racing well this year in terms of what he's doing with a car that may not be as good as some of the other cars on the track?
For sure. Well, this is one of his best seasons thus far, especially the way he's positioned himself in the standings. Eighth right now. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly where you want to be for him. Tyler Reddick, his teammates in 5th. So those 2 cars being prepared very similar, and it shows in the standings as well. And that's something that they haven't been able to have in recent years with the 23 team, is getting the results for the fast cars when they do have it. I'll go to your point. He has been capitalizing on getting those stage points when the cars haven't been as fast or capable of winning races. But they have had fast cars. I just feel like Kansas, the way they have been super fast there in the past, Bubba, like I said, winning, getting top 5s, top 10s at this track, and then to see them last year, both drivers outside the top 10, that's what worries me. What went wrong there? Can they make the adjustment? So I'd rather stick with a driver that I know has been fast at intermediates and 1.5 miles thus far this season, rather than someone that I need to sort of make sure will be fast heading into this race weekend.
Tino Patino, always appreciate you, my friend. Check him out on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio this weekend. And Tubi, always appreciate it, my friend. Be well.
Thank you.
We're coming back. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. Don't forget, SportsWrap weekends on many of these same affiliates. If not, check your local listing for time and schedule. SportsWrap with Jason Page, the podcast. If you have not subscribed, go to your favorite podcast subscriber and subscribe today. It is this show available in audio form. You can also watch us on Spotify and on our new YouTube channel, the SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, available on YouTube. Go and subscribe to that. We have SportsWrap shorts there, clips from the show, clips not from the show. Just clips sometimes that we make because news breaks when we're not doing the show, and sometimes we got to put it somewhere, and we put it on our YouTube channel, SportsWrap with Jason Page, the YouTube channel. All right, without any further delays, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Let's talk about Rafael Devers and Abdul Carter. In the case of Rafael Devers, he is not happy with the Boston Red Sox. They want him to try and play first base. We knew this was going to be a problem. The organization knew this was going to be a problem. They had 2 third basemen, Alex Bregman and Rafael Devers. They decided to make Alex Bregman the third baseman. That means Rafael Devers was going to be a designated hitter, or he was going to have to wind up being a first baseman. Now they need a first baseman because they had an injury at first base, and Rafael Devers doesn't want to play first base. What do you do if you're the Boston Red Sox? Because Rafael Devers doesn't want to play first base.
This is a very interesting circumstance.
Interesting, I agree.
Well, because Jason, it's just another layer to kind of what you laid out, right? And it goes all the way back to the Bregman signing. It's tough because there are teams that have inquired about trading for Rafael Devers with healthy offers. I have that on good authority that the Red Sox have declined. At least they did before this, right? This was like before the first week of the season. It's like a week before the season. Here's the thing. The Red Sox are in like a really tough spot because they're paying this guy $380-some million.
Yep.
Like, and if they're doing that to DH for umpteen years, which now seems like the resolution that they reached, which they want to walk back. I get it from Devers' perspective.
Yep.
But from a baseball perspective, it's hard for me to not say, not that I would ever be in this position, but if I were in that dugout on that guy's team, dude, one of our not top players, but one of our mainstay players in Tristan Casas just had his freaking knee blow up running through first base.
Yeah.
Pick him up and play 120 games at first base. Like, it's not that hard. That's my personal opinion, though. And again, I understand both sides of it.
Yep. They got a mess on their hands when it comes to Rafael Devers, that is for sure. Abdul Carter, seen here wearing the only jersey he didn't ask the Giants for. He is going to wear jersey number 51. After asking Lawrence Taylor for number 56, after asking Phil Simms for his jersey, Abdul Carter will wear jersey number 51. Thankfully, that story is now off of our radar, Sam.
So what? He's just going to take Paul Posluszny's number and no one's going to give a hoot about it? I guess I'm a little confused here. No, but the numbers thing is ridiculous. The NFL has insane ways of staying relevant. Like, there's a wide receiver who's going to wear number 22. Ridiculous, the number stuff this year.
Sam Yarnell, what will be? Let's look into our crystal ball. Ooh, I'm looking into the crystal ball. The headlines for Monday. What will be the top stories that we are talking about when we come on the air with SportsWrap for our enraptured audience on Monday? Let's start with the NBA playoffs. Will the Celtics be cooked by the time we get to Monday? Will the Knicks be up 3-0 when we get to Monday?
You would love that.
Oh, I
would.
I would.
I fear that we will not be talking about the Knicks and Celtics. I do fear, actually, between the Cavs, Pacers, and Thunder Nuggets both playing on Sunday night, like, there's a non-zero chance both those games are 40-point blowouts for the higher seed, and we're coming here on Monday talking about how much better the hockey is than the basketball, because you know how much I love to talk about that, Jason Page. And we got some good hockey because Sunday night, hey, the Toronto Maple Leafs have a chance to go wild and go crazy here. Is it Sunday they'll have a chance to win the series?
No, because they don't play.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sunday?
They'll play.
Oh, okay.
If
Sunday.
they win,
You're right.
If they win on Friday night, if the Maple Leafs win we'll have Game 4 no matter what on Sunday, and regardless, we're either coming out of Game 4 with a 3-1 lead, a 2-2 tie, or the Toronto Maple Leafs getting to the conference finals. My gosh, that's gonna have to lead the show.
My home and native land. I'm telling you, we're gonna come out. I'm getting a Maple Leafs jersey. They make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. I am getting a Maple Leafs jersey. We'll wear it on the show for our Canadian audience because we are going all in on the Toronto Maple Leafs for the Stanley Cup Final.
Oh, man.
Let's go. Let's
Oh,
go.
man. You must be new to hockey because that's that's going all in on the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs, man. Yeah, you must be new to hockey.
Let's go. Who can we get on from Toronto? Who's their play-by-play guy? Let's go. Isn't it like Steve Rabel? Who's their play-by-play guy? I can't remember. I used to know all the play-by-play guys. There was a time. Oh, we're out of time. Okay. I don't get to tell that story. Story time with Jason Page is over. Sam, always appreciate it. Thanks to all of you for watching. We'll see you Monday. All right. Let's do the...
Hold on a sec.
Let's do the special segment. It's Bill Belichick. The banner reads, "Is Bill Belichick's personal life